So, like, there we go, Larissa. What is going to happen if a buyer will stop paying? How easy will it be to foreclose?
Whoops, bear with me 1 second here. I think, bear with me. I thought I saw it was doing something almost there to go live. But just Christian, just let me know when I have to jump over to my other computer when I can log in once you have it set up. Um, so we are live. So he's saying that we're live. Give us 1 second, I'll answer that question. All right. Now if I go in, am I gonna kick? I probably will kick it out. So just leave it the way it is. Matt, do you see us live over there? He says that we're live. Okay, cool. All right. You want to go ahead and put the link into the group? And then
Yep, I'll post the link.
I'll just stay on my phone for now.
All right, welcome in everybody. Happy Monday over on Facebook. I am going to be posting the link. Go ahead and let us know where you're tuning in from. Happy Labor Day as well. I'll be posting the link for the Zoom call. Feel free to hop in here. This is a time for you to ask your questions and you get answered by Mark Monroe, the guy that's done over 500 million in seller financing deals and over 3,000 deals in general. So I'm going to post this link in here for you guys. And then Mark, go ahead and answer Larissa's question there.
Can you repeat the question one more time, if you don't mind?
What is going to happen if the buyer is going to stop paying you? So, and how easy will it be to foreclose?
Okay. So that's why I like selling on a lease option. The reason why is a lease option, it's easier to get them out. But usually what I like to do is if you have a good relationship with your buyer and seller, it's all communication. And most of the time they're going to reach out to you ahead of time. And they'll reach out to you ahead of time and want to talk to you about, hey, I'm running into some financial issues. This is what it's at. I actually have one right now that happened last week. I sold it on a lease option. I'm sorry, I sold it on a wrap. So on a seller financing note. And what happened was the buyer passed away and he got a divorce a year ago, but the ex-wife was still on it. She reached out to us and told us the story of what's going on. So, and she wants to go through the property. She wants to keep the property, have her kids kind of take it over. So it's going to go through a probate process because we had a good relationship. They reached out to us. But typically, and the other part of it is making sure you really screen your buyers up front and make sure that they have good jobs. Typically, the buyers, they're like self-employed or they have credit challenges. That's typically the ones that I tend to get. They have credit challenges, and it usually takes a little while, and then they'll usually refinance it. But if you work with them and you have a good relationship with them, a lot of times you can get them back on put them on a payment plan. Or if it's just too much for them, just say, hey, I'll buy the property back from you and just kind of go through it. So it can happen, but if you're good at screening people and you have a really good relationship with them, you can kind of get ahead of that. Knock on wood. I've been pretty lucky. Or give cash for keys. And that's why I like that. That's why I recommend always having 3 months reserves. So if you have like 4 properties and you have 3 months reserves on the different properties, you'll be okay carrying yourself. So you should be fine on that, but you should have a little bit of capital there in the reserves. And if you run into a problem and it's a good deal and you have equity in it, and you need capital, you can easily find capital partners to kind of come in and help out with that. Or you can even sell it off to another investor. I purchased deals that way because an investor started out doing these deals and his first deal went bad and he only had 3 months reserved and it was going to take a little bit longer. I think it was going to take 7 months to get him out, and I came in and bought that one out. But most of the time, if you're going to be at least several deals in before you run into that situation. But again, if you have a really good rapport and a good relationship with your buyer and seller, you should be able to work through those and just treat them like, hey, I understand financial times happen. What can we do to help out? What can you afford? What can you get back on a payment plan? Do you have an IRA? Do you have a 401k? Can you dip into that type of stuff? What happened with your job? And a lot of times because I've had 3 months reserves, I put people back on payment plans and they end up making payments and I end up getting caught up that way. So it can happen, but just be prepared for it and just have a couple backup plans. But it is easier to get them out on a lease option, especially if it's in a landlord friendly state.
That's a
Great.
big deal, right?
What's that?
That's a big deal, right? Landlord friendly state.
It is. It is. But for me, I will do business in not landlord friendly states. Um, but those I will typically, I'm holding those and I'll do underwrite on section 8 because I want to make sure because they don't want to lose their voucher on something like that. So it's a case by case. But yeah, landlord friendly states are so much easier. But again, I've had situations where they are in other states and you just work with the if you have a good relationship with the buyers and just don't get in their heads. Try not to send them legal documents. Hey, this is Mark. What can I do? Well, I understand you're in a bad situation. So I try not to foreclose because it's going to cost more money for everybody apart. And then you want to have a good relationship and just give them cash for keys to leave if that's the worst case.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay.
I think
And
she
Laura's,
put something else in there. Go ahead.
yeah, she's asking if nothing works out, how easy is it to evict or foreclose?
It depends on the state. Some states you can have them out real quick, and some states like California, Illinois, New York, it could take, it could take a year. Texas is pretty quick. You can get them out pretty quick in Texas. Texas, you can have them out in I think 2 to 3 months. Texas is a really friendly state for investors. Um, but again, if you have a good relationship, you shouldn't even have to go down that path. You just kind of work something out with the sellers and say, hey, you know what? Why don't you leave? I'll give you some cash for keys. And a lot of times you'll come out ahead because that property's probably gone up in value, and you get the property back and just do it all over again. That's why I tell sellers, I mean, Mr. Seller, quite frankly, you want me to default after 5 years. You get the property back and been paying the mortgage back, but I'll never ever do that. But that's typically that's the worst case scenario. And I like how you're always being, and I do the same thing. I'm always looking at worst case scenario. But Texas is a pretty easy state. Florida's a pretty easy state. There are several easy states that you can kind of do it in, but some of the other states just be very cautious. Great question. Any questions over on Facebook?
Nothing over on Facebook yet. If you guys are live right here, we're live. We're here live with you. If you're watching on replay, say replay below. And Mark sometimes hops back in on the replays and answers questions. If you have a question, feel free to drop it. But right now, if you are live, feel free to hop on Zoom with us. We are on Zoom, but we are live in the Facebook
Matt,
group.
I got an itch. Matt, I got an itch.
You have a question?
I got itchy legs.
Okay. So if you guys can go ahead and drop a question in the chat or hop over here on Zoom and we'll get you rocking and rolling.
Yep. So lease option, I see she has a lease option. So lease options you can't do in Texas. Texas is this, you can't do lease options agreement for deeds. So a lease option is, well, actually let me back up. You can do a lease option if you're selling it to your end buyer, but you're only allowed to do it for 1 year. Typically, us investors, when we do lease options, we want to do it for about 2 to 3 years, sometimes 5 years, but it's almost, it's a rent to own. That's what a lease option is. They can rent to own it. And you could do that in Texas and you can get them out that faster, but you're only allowed 1 year to, maybe you'd have to double check because in Texas, I don't know the rules on that particular one, but I can find that out for you. But I think you can do 18 months, but then you just do a renewal and have it extend because typically you want to be able to have, give your buyer time to be able to get the credit in whatever situation. It usually takes 18 to 30 months for that buyer, if you're underwriting, to get their credit cleaned up and they have good income. So you could do a 12 months or 18 months, renew it, and then have them close on it. That is another way of going about it. But you can do a subject to a wrap, and technically even an agreement for deed, you can still do that. But you want to kind of work through that process. But it's a rent to own. But Texas has got some quirky laws, and if you want to know more about it, we can talk a little bit more about that. I'd have to check because I don't do business in Texas because of that reason, because I'd like to sell my properties on lease option. I do Florida, New England, Carolinas, Alabama, some of my markets in Ohio. So great question. I think there's another question there, Matt.
Nope. No. What is a lease option? Did you answer that?
Yeah, it's a rent to own. It's pretty much what it is. It's a rent to own. They become homeowners, and you can buy, like, I purchase properties on lease options. You can't do in Texas, but I've gotten properties. If a seller like is not open to like transferring the deed or anything like that over to you, there's other strategies. But I've done lease options. I've locked it up for a deal one time for $100. It allows you to sublet it, put another buyer in a property. So I locked one up for 179, sublet it, sold it to my end buyer for 215,000, and I cash flowed about $350 a month. And I gave the seller only $2,300. I'm sorry, $2,400 down. All right, $2,400 to take over the property, $100 down. I gave her the remaining $2,300 when I took possession of the property. Went out for my end buyer. My end buyer put a little bit, I think $11,600 down. So $11,600 down, I gave to my buyer her 23 remaining balance. So I still made a little bit more than $8,000 in the front end. I put 3 months of reserves away, and then I cash flowed about that one. Was only $350 a month. It was a smaller deal, but it was just it was so easy deal, and I only had to talk to the buyer 3 times, and it was just really easy to do. And that seller was a realtor, and I gave her 100%, $179,000 what that property's worth at that time. And I negotiated, as long as I make my payment on or before the due date, I get a $150 credit applied towards a purchase price, and that was a 30-month contract. So I got another I want to say $5,300 or $5,600 off the purchase price on that particular deal. So that is another way of doing it. Nowadays, I like to try to control the deed more, so I get the depreciation for the tax advantages. But if you're going to lose a deal, that's another one. Hey, would you be willing to rent the property to us for a few years? We close on it. We'll take care of the maintenance and repairs. Okay. Good question.
Awesome. And guys, Mark has a private mentorship group. This right here is just scratching the surface. When it comes to seller financing, there are so many ins and outs of knowing what to do and how to talk to different sellers and what to say to realtors even. And also when it comes to contracts, which contracts to use, which type of strategy should you use for certain properties. So we have a private mentorship Mark has created for you guys to join. We do take only a certain amount of members every so often. So I did drop the link in the chat here just to see if it's a good fit for you. Just go ahead and schedule a call, hop on a call with one of our teammates, and they're going to see if we can help you out when it comes to getting you started in seller financing. Mark has years and years of experience. It's not learning from someone that's just getting started. You're learning from someone that has many years. I'm 32. He's been doing this for almost as long as I've been around. So
crazy. Time goes by so quickly.
It's insane. It's insane. So it's like you're going to learn from the person that is probably one of the most experienced coaches out there when it comes to seller financing. So he's seen it all. He's been through the ringer. And Mark, you were a loan officer too, right? At one point.
Yeah, I had 100, and that's how I started out. Well, I did my first deal when I was 19, and then I was in the corporate world for a little while, and then ended up starting out as a mortgage broker for a little while. Then we became a real estate banking firm. We ended up having 107 loan officers working for us. And then what really happened is I started surrounding my clients were real estate investors, and I started surrounding myself with them. And that's how I started learning all these different strategies over the years. And then with my real estate banking background, it made it so much easier. Like when I present offers, they're more like seller financing offers, amortization schedules. But the key to seller financing deals, the key is you have to treat it like a marriage with the seller. You're in a long-term commitment. You're in a long-term contract with the seller. So you want to treat it that way. So when you're starting to talk to a seller, take it for the first time when you're significant other. You're sitting there talking the first time. You're getting to know each other. So you have to get to know each other. You want to get to know them. You're interviewing them to make sure they're not a crazy seller, because I've had those. And then they're interviewing you to make sure you're going to do what they say. And again, it goes back to, somebody had a question here about, like, for closing, if you keep that same mentality, even with your buyers and your sellers and your realtors, building, it's all about relationship. You're going to get, even if you don't help a seller, I'm sorry, even if you don't buy a property from a seller, but you do help them, they're going to refer you deals. I can't tell you deals where, if I was, you know, if I was an investor that wasn't on the up and up, and misled a seller, I could have easily gotten a deal, but because I was helping the seller out to save their property, because they didn't have to sell it, there was other alternatives, and I kind of helped them out. I end up getting referrals from them. So keep that in mind. You always want to do the right thing, and if you do the right thing, you will get referrals. Absolutely. But the bottom line is, if you want to get a seller financing deal, they're going to do it because they like you. I can't tell you how many times I've talked to other different investors, or I'm sorry, other sellers that talk to other investors, and we got the deal because they enjoyed, they like me and they trust me, and I, I whatever I'm going to do, I tell them that's what I'm going to do. Even, even if it's a conversation that may be something bad, like, hey, I'm sorry, I'm not the buyer because the numbers don't work out for me. I'm going to be truthful with them and tell them the reason why. And a lot of times they'll adjust some of their numbers. Just be truthful, be yourself, and it just makes the whole entire situation so much easier. And that's really what it comes down to seller financing, because it is a long-term commitment and like a contract that you're talking with each other. So just kind of keep it, remember that, just like your significant other. If you have that good relationship and reach out to people, like we send, gift cards to people, buyers, sellers are always sending stuff out. So it's really easy to kind of have that relationship. So I think I saw another question there.
Yeah, this is a great question. Are you closing through title companies if it's rent to own?
It depends. Majority of the time, yes, I will go through a third party because I want a third party to explain all the documents. If I don't, then I record it on Zoom. We're on Zoom and we're going through it, so I want to make sure that everybody's on the same page. It depends on what state it's in, and it depends on the buyer and the whole situation. But yes, a title company will do it. You got to find a title company that's open to it, because all you're doing is having them sign the agreements, but you also can have a notary do it. I've also had realtors. If I'm doing a rent to own, I also have a realtor and pay them 1 month commission. So it depends on where it's at. But if I need boots on the ground, a lot of times I have a realtor be the boots on the ground, like a leasing agent type of thing. And I will have them meet with them and have them go through the contracts and their license and their sign. So you can have them do that as well. If not, depending, like if it's an agreement for deed and contract, then I'll use a title company. But you always want a third party going through the documents and somebody else explaining it. And then you also want to explain it. And a lot of times, if I'm explaining it, I'm recording it. So they have everything, everybody's on the same page. So there's no situation, oh, they never told me this and they never told me that. And that's why it's good to always have a third party going through the documents and having them sign, and have a notary there too. Sometimes I've done that before. Having a notary, especially in purchase and sale. So this way it's a lot easier. And then when they go to purchase the property, it's easier for the mortgage underwriter because it's showed that it was notarized and it's everything stamped as well. So it does make things a little bit easier. Especially, you got to keep in mind when they go to buy that property at the end, you want to make sure that it's set up the right way at the end so they can buy that property. Because for me, I want them to buy the property. I want them to become homeowners because then I get my big chunk. I know some investors, they don't want their people to buy the property, but I want my people to buy the property. So great question. Okay.
When it comes to that, which title companies are you looking for? You're looking for people that are experienced with seller financing, or can anybody do it?
Yeah, if it's a lease option to rent, it doesn't really matter because I just want to run it through their escrow and they're sending the documents. But it's good to have them do those things. They've been through it. But most of them have been through it. But yes, usually you want a title company that understands creative seller financing strategies. And if you ever need one, we have a whole nationwide network. So just reach out to us and we can easily get that. But that's not a problem to find those type of people. Okay.
Yeah, for sure. And guys, this is a time for you guys to ask questions. So feel free to drop them in the chat. Go ahead and unmute yourself and talk, and we're here for you.
Cool. Whoops, somebody. So Matt, I think I'm gonna make you. Are you Matt? You're the host right now, right? Or are you co-host?
I'm a co-host right now.
Right. I'm gonna. My phone is dying, so I'm gonna jump on Zoom, and hopefully I don't screw it all up. So
That's fine.
give me 1 second here. All right. And then hopefully you guys can see me a little bit better.
All right, go ahead.
Well, actually, it says. Bear with me. It said switch. I thought I was already on. All right. Let's see if this stays in. These are great questions. I like it. All right, here we go.
All right, test of time. Let's see if it works.
Saying switch. Why is it saying switch?
And guys, if you guys don't know who Mark is, he is a very experienced investor.
Whoops.
It's pretty. I'm echoing a bit. So it's okay.
Okay. You guys hear me okay?
We can. He's back.
Are we still live on Facebook?
Let's look. Looks like it.
All right. Perfect. My
Sir.
other phone. All right.
Awesome. Yep. Drew, Jermon, do you have a question?
No, this is my first time here, so I'm just sitting back just listening. I'm always in learner mode. So yeah.
Where are you located?
Oh, I'm in Douglasville, Georgia, which is like 40 minutes west of Atlanta.
That's a good market. Are you currently in real estate now or just starting out?
No, I'm in real estate now. My partners and I, we do a lot of creative finance and deal structures for the folks. We deal with the folks that have been turned down for conventional and jumbo loan financing. And unfortunately,
Awesome.
right now, you have a lot of folks out there right now that I hate using this word, so y'all forgive me. You have a lot of folks out there that are less liquid heavy, but they're asset heavy. And a lot of the traditional thinking realtors basically tell them to go pound sand. A lot of lenders won't even talk to them. So we'll get folks like that will reach out to us. You know, we'll just have a conversation with them. And my partner, who's more experienced at dealing with this clientele, he takes it from there. I do what I do best. I get on the phone, run my mouth, and make best friends in real estate to see if they got a real estate problem solved.
Nice. Nice. So you go out there finding buyers in a sense. That's what you're kind of doing.
Basically, yeah, finding folks out there who want to own a home, you know, and unfortunately, like I said, because the way that the lending process is just they don't use common sense lending basically from what I'm gathering. It's just kind of okay. You see,
they have guidelines that they have to follow.
Yeah.
And then they have to, and then when they go to sell the loans off in the secondary market, there's all guidelines. Otherwise, because what happens is these lenders, they bulk up the loans and then they sell them off in the secondary market. And if they don't follow the industry guidelines, then they get stuck with that loan and they need to free up the capital. So they're constantly buying, bulking, and selling loans off and securitizing it. Once you understand, you're on the front end right now and you're just learning this part of it. But once you understand this, there's another whole area in the seller financing space where you can sell these notes off. A lot of investors are doing like they're creating a 70%. They'll do like a 70% first and like a 20% second, and then having the buyer put like 10, 15, 20% down. So there's a lot of that. And then they can sell that first mortgage off. So if you're doing a subject to creative deal, if the loan's ever getting called due, you can sell that first mortgage off, sell your first note off, pay the underlying lien, and then you can still get that 20% second for your multi cash flow. A lot of investors tend to do that as well. So
gotcha.
Another whole market on that. It's I go to a lot of seller financing conferences and speak. I'm actually going to one in November down in Dallas. I think somebody was from Dallas, but it's another whole event. So Georgia's a great market. So are you doing this full time?
Yeah, I am now, not by choice, because the corporate world told me through an email, hey, we don't like you no more, so don't come back. So they basically laid me off. So yeah, so I'm in this full time now.
You have to. You got to take control. That's the thing. It's like take control of your own journey. Just kind of and just grind it. It is a grind.
Yeah.
It's impossible, especially starting out. But if you do it like we were talking, I don't know when he came in, but the goal is if you're doing, it's going to take about at least 5 years. It, most people take 5 years because they're having a regular W-2 job to get to that level, and then you should be able to you'll be at 15,000 $15,000, $15,000 a month easy passive income over 5 years if you're doing 30 deals. Do two your first year, you learn it, then double it from there, and go, and then 4, 8, and etc. So it starts snowballing in there. And then just hold your deals. That's what one of the things that blows me away is these guys wholesale seller financing deals, and it's just mind blowing because if you stay in the deal, instead of only making $10,000, you're making so much more. One of my girls that was in the program, a deal that she actually had, it was in Texas, and it needed $35,000 worth of work, and instead she didn't have the capital because she was doing a fix and flip. So she was just going to do an assignment, sell it, doing a wholesale assignment. And I'm like, okay, how much money are you going to ask for? She goes, I'm going to ask for 15,000. I'm like, when it's all said and done, she's going to market at 15,000. When it's all said and done, what do you think you're going to get? She said between $8,000 to $10,000. Well, we went through the process and analyzed the deal. If she stayed in that deal over 5 years, she was going to make $171,000 on that deal. So,
Okay.
yeah, because you structure it, and then she didn't even have to use the capital. You sell it as a handyman special.
Gotcha. And I
Yeah.
guess I have one more question, and
Sure.
I'm gonna shut up after that. Speaking of Texas and this wholesale thing, I have a lot of friends that are wholesalers, and they're losing their lunch right now over this SB 141 law they just passed. And from what I read, because like I said, I don't wholesale, but from what I read, if you're doing creative finance deal structures, you're pretty much okay. I guess it's more for the wholesale types that are just, I
Yeah.
guess, looking to sell a service or something like that, just spamming people. But if you do creative deals, you're pretty much okay or something like that. I just want to know you
So
guys' thoughts on that.
yeah, so the issue is subject to. It was never designed to do assignments and wholesaling. It was never designed to do that. And we all saw this coming, people like myself that's been in this a long period. It was always designed for us investors to buy a deal and stay in the middle and take it down. Well, and then we underwrite our end buyers and make sure our end buyers can qualify. Well, what's been happening in the last 2 years, 2.5 years, these guys go through these programs and learning, and they're just doing assignments. They're signing the deals off, and that's what's causing the problem. And they're not qualifying the end buyer correctly and make sure the buyer can pay the payments. They're just looking for that large assignment fee, and that's all they're doing, and they're walking away. Well, the default rate on subject two is at 19% right now. It's the highest it's ever been in history. And this subject two has been around for 30, 40 years. It's always been there. And the subject two default rate was always lower than FHA VA because if anything happened and our end buyer stopped paying, and we underwrote a lot better so the buyers wouldn't stop paying. We were a lot more strict on it, and we made sure we had reserves. They're they That's why the default rate was so much lower. So I kind of it I kind of I'm for it because otherwise I can see subject to eventually becoming illegal because their default rate is just going through the roof, and the people are just assigning deals and just walking away, and then they think, oh, I'm out of the deal, but they're going to get pulled into it. And I know some attorney generals have been subpoenaing some loan servicing companies for certain states because they're getting so many complaints from the buyer, so many complaints from the sellers that the buyer is immediately defaulting, and the wholesaler just walked away from the deal, and they got the $25,000 assignment fee type of thing or whatever it may be. So that's the main reason why you're starting to see these regulations, and that's why. And quite frankly, there's several states where wholesaling is already illegal, but people are still doing it. But people are starting to get pinched right now. So that's why I don't wholesale. I stay in my deals. If I am wholesaling, I typically am wholesaling it back to the seller. I'm assigning it back to the original seller. And I tell them, hey, I'm not the right buyer. For me to be the right buyer, my payment needs to be here. And it's usually people, it's not people financial distress. I'll never do that to somebody financial distress. It's somebody that's educated and they just want more money themselves. But I rarely do that. I can't remember the last time I did that. But if I'm doing a wholesaling assignment, I'm usually doing it back to the seller. And I just say, hey, I'm out of the deal. You're responsible for it. If anything happens, for me to be in the deal, my payment needs to be here. So if anything happens and they stop making payments, I step up and make the payments. If you want me to do that, this is where my payment needs to be. This is where my price point needs to be. But if you don't want that, hey, I may be able to bring somebody because I have a big database of buyers that they'll pay me a small fee to bring help bring you to the deal, but you're responsible for it. I don't do that much anymore, but I used to kind of do that a little bit. But
Yeah.
because of the whole Wild West right now with assignments and becoming ugly, that's why I kind of stopped doing it.
Yeah.
But I always make sure. Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah, I totally agree with you with the whole subject to thing. You know, 'cause I guess I'm looking at it from a moral standpoint. When you're dealing with a seller and you said, okay, hey, we're gonna do the subject to, you gave that person, that seller, a moral obligation to say, hey, I'm gonna do right by you. And I've always had issues with people assigning subject to contracts. And there's a couple goofballs, I'm not gonna name them on here, but if you're in the business, you know who they are on all on YouTube, whatnot, teaching this crap, you know, and that always rubbed me the wrong way because it gives the investors like us who actually are out here doing the right thing, it puts us in a bad light. You know, we ain't done anything, but because you get a few bad apples, it messed up everybody. And I kind of figured that was kind of what the whole SB thing was about.
Yeah, correct. And that's kind of what's happening. And the how we used to do it is those people, instead of doing assignments, they were bird dogs for us investors. They would go out, find the deals, bring it, and we would give them a fee. They weren't making these crazy fees. The realistically fee was probably 25 to like $4,500. That was a realistic fee, and for a bird dog fee on a closed deal. And then we would show them the way. That's how it was, and we were the ones actually doing the deals. These guys are just locking them up, like you said, telling the seller, like you hit the nail on the head, the ethics of it, telling the seller. I'm always direct with the seller. It's easier. Again, it goes back to building a relationship. Why the seller's open to doing this with you is because they trust you. You build a rapport. When you turn around and you're no longer around and they can't call you, that's why they're getting so many complaints. The states are complaining because this guy totally misled that. Just be truthful, be honest with the sellers, and you can get so many more deals that way. Again, that's why you just refer people. And if you can't help them out, just be truthful. Hey, I can't help you out. Why don't you try this? Talk to this person, talk to whatever. But I agree with you on that one. So, and that's why the laws are, that's why that where wholesaling is becoming more and more illegal because of this. And even if it isn't creative deal and they're just doing wholesaling and they're putting cash offers and telling and they have to cancel, they're putting the sellers in a bad situation because a lot of times the sellers are putting deposits down on other properties. So if you're doing wholesaling, you're doing assignment, understand that you have to put yourself in the seller's position. If you don't do what you're saying and you don't perform, what's the repercussion for that seller? Think of it. You got to think ethics and how you can, because you can do this. You can wholesale perfectly the right way if you're communicating. I don't recommend it. You should actually do the deals, but always communicate and learn and just don't be truthful with people and don't be so greedy. That's the biggest thing. Don't be greedy. And that's the other thing. So, all right. There you go. She's a real estate agent. Possibly I have see that's where real estate agents had ethics, and that's why I like that. And that's one of the reasons why a lot of states, or if you're doing wholesaling, you should become a realtor. And I think realtors should understand seller financing 100% because it's going to open the arsenal for them to do a lot more deals. It's huge. I can't tell you the the realtors that understand seller financing and helps the sellers for both sides because you're opening them up. And a lot of sellers like selling on seller financing, especially tired landlords, because they don't want to get hit with that capital gains. I love tired landlords. I like people that have owned a home for 15 plus years because they want that passive income, but they're tired. Those are great, great deals, and those are great people to go after and bring buyers to them. So, and if you come across a tired landlord, that's okay, and he doesn't want a crazy down payment, because that's like whatever my down payment is, I like to make sure it pays the closing costs and the realtors. That's typically what I like, and maybe it depends. Again, it goes back. It goes back to why is the seller selling? There's two reasons why when somebody's bringing me a deal, why is the seller selling or what they plan on doing the capital? Because if I understand those two things, that's how I can get in with a low down payment is to zero down. I want to make sure there's enough there that we're giving to the seller to pay the closing costs, any type of real estate commission, or any type of moving fees, whatever they may need. But that's why I like tired landlords because there's a lot of times there's no moving costs. They're open to just no money down deals or just whatever the closing cost is. I know, so that's kind of why I like those. So we got just what 9 minutes left. So Jermaine, very good question. So anybody else have any more questions? Looks like you moved to a new location.
I'm just in my truck now.
There you go. Are you on your laptop? Because the camera is really good.
That's my iPhone.
Oh, really? Okay. It's good.
Yeah.
So we both had some technical issues today. Well, you didn't have any technical issues. I did.
Yeah. No, I was just here with the family for today and, just enjoying family time. And I have a
Sure.
couple deals I'm looking at. I'm looking at it's about a 15-acre horse farm. So,
Nice.
and they have some seller financing potential there. So,
Somebody just posted, if you look at our buyer, I think somebody just posted one in a group, the seller financing homes group.
oh,
They
really?
specialize in horse farms. So you might want to take a, yeah. So I saw that earlier this morning in that group. That was interesting. So, yep. So, well, hopefully that stuff was good. And thank you guys for joining. I figured, you know, I didn't know if it was going to be a good night or not because of the holiday. It's the end of the season, especially for you guys up north. Man, your summers go by so quickly up there. Can't believe your summer's over.
I don't want to hear it. It's gonna
I'm
be
looking
80 degrees tomorrow, so it'll be okay.
I'm looking forward to it. One more month and then I get to turn my AC off.
Well, I don't have my AC on right now, so
I was just in Vermont, last week looking at I have some property that we're looking at developing our property into 24 units. So I was up there learning a lot about tax credits, how to raise capital for tax credits. That's interesting. It's another whole, like I'm still learning. I love this stuff. There's so many different things to learn in real estate. So I know creative seller financing by the back of my hand on residential, but now, I've done some land development stuff. And once you understand land development and seller financing, I mean, you can do that as well. I've done deals with sellers. I did a great one, home run deal up in the Carolinas about probably 6 years ago now. Where we got that with no money down. The seller wanted 1.5 million for the land, and he ended up making 3.1 instead because we ended up building 49 homes in there. We sold it every time a lot was sold, he got some money on it. So and that was a no money down from us and the buyer. We used the land as leverage to do the entitlement, and then we would build 5 homes at a time. So, but this one's a little different because it's more about tax credits and kind of it's for the low income housing. It's another whole model, but it's interesting. So I'm excited. So, do we have any more questions? I know, unless you want to close it out and give everybody the link, and let's schedule calls if anybody
yeah.
wants to jump on another call and learn a little bit more.
Yeah, so again, Mark does have a program. It is for people that are looking to get started in seller financing, whether you are new or if you have, say, 3 to 4 deals already and you're looking to stop putting 20% down all the time. Mark likes to get in at 5% or less on a deal. So a lot of times he likes to get in at 0%. So, I mean, who doesn't like to get in a deal at 0%? That's amazing. So stop using your capital, learn how to do creative financing, and Mark teaches that. So I am going to put in the chat a link for you to schedule a call with one of our team members. It is a non-sales call. It's just to see if you are a good fit for the program. It is just to see if you have the capital to get started, because sometimes you still need to have capital. You can get in with $0, but you need to have reserves. You got to have something to back you up in case that person stops paying, because you don't want to hurt the relationship with your seller that is selling the property. You want to make sure that you can protect them from your buyers not paying, so, or your renters not paying or whatever. So make sure, guys, you schedule a call just to see if it's a good fit for you. There's no sales. It's just a few questions. It'll take 10 to 15 minutes just to see if you're a good fit for us and see if we can actually help you out. Um, then you'll hop on a call with me, and then we'll see where we can go from there. We'll get you crushing.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. And I apologize for a little confusion earlier with getting everything all set up. So I really appreciate it. So Matt, we will talk to you a little bit later. Thank you everybody else for joining, and everybody else have a great night. I appreciate it. Take care, guys.
Take care.
Be well.
See ya. Have a good one.
Bye.
Christian, go ahead and leave.